Welcome to Everything Systems. System TRILANX, Episode 1. The TRILANX is my system model for life. This video is an overview of the model, while this playlist will explore the model in greater detail. I think that when a person understands a system, they gain some degree of influence or control over it, which is why it's useful to see life as a system. In this model, we are balancing three primary factors, which is why it's called TRILANX. The name itself comes from the Latin word bilanx, which means two scale pans. In modern day, we use the word balance. However, our system model has three pans, thus a TRILANX. These three scale pans are time, work, and money. Time is a quantity, or in systems terminology, referred to as a stock. Think of a stock as something that can be filled up or depleted, like a swimming pool. In this case, we have the swimming pool frame itself, which is your projected lifespan, while the water inside that pool is the actual amount of time you have left. While no one knows the amount of water inside the pool, we do know the rate at which it is flowing out, which is a constant 24 hours per day. This, in system terms, is called a flow. At the top of our triangle, we have work. Work is not a stock, but rather it is a variable, a rate. Work converts time into money in a flow that we call earned income. Often, work is converted either by an hourly or a salary rate. At the bottom right of our triangle, we have money. Money, like time, is a stock that we will call wealth. Unlike our pool of time, we know how much money or assets are inside this wealth pool. We also have partial control over the flows that come out of our wealth pool. This flow is called spending, and its first stop is at the non-discretionaries. Non-discretionaries are payments that you need to make for essential services. Things like housing, utilities, transportation, food, etc. After the non-discretionaries, if you have debt payments, then the chunkier flow will be diverted there. After that, the spending flow moves inside the triangle to our discretionary payments. These are things we want, but do not need to survive. Things like dining out, entertainment, Amazon purchases, travel, etc. Anything that's left from the income flow after completing the spending phase returns to the wealth pool. Moving back over to the time domain, we see that there are also non-discretionary and discretionary spending flows here, but instead of spending money, you are spending your time. Non-discretionaries for time would be things like sleep, which takes 7 to 8 hours at minimum, as well as your commute, meals, and other things you need to do. Things you should do, like responsibilities and obligations, such as walking a dog, spending time with kids, etc., also falls here. Inside the triangle is where your remaining time or your free time is spent. Unlike the money domain, where you can store leftover flow in the wealth pool, you cannot store your time back in the time pool. You can, however, buy time. To do that, you need enough wealth so that you no longer need to work, effectively redirecting your workflow and related time expenses like commute into free time. This is essentially retirement. Before we get too far in the details, let's look at the TRILANX as a whole. On the outside, we have the constraining factors in our life. They are the factors originating from earlier life decisions or circumstances that we have less control over now. For example, if you have children, you now have a responsibility to raise them, and thus you will have less personal free time. Some constraining factors can be optimized, however. Housing, for example, is something we all need, yet your personal standards for living play an important role here in your wealth pool. Does a single person need a luxurious 2-bedroom apartment in the most desirable location of town, or can it survive just fine in a studio that's in a cheaper neighborhood? We'll explore this more in a later video, but for now, let's continue the overview. So if the outside has our constraining factors, then what's on the inside? Well, that's the design, our life, who we are as a person, the things that make us a unique individual. Inside is where you'll find your meaning of life. If somebody asks you who or what you are, how do you typically respond? With your job or your hobbies and interests? I'm a roofer, I'm an accountant, I work for tech. Or I'm a musician, I'm a writer, I'm a gardener. I don't think your profession should define you. Everyone has to get a job to make money, and not many people have jobs that align with the meaning of life. Now, I think a person is defined by how they choose to spend their free time. Now, back to the TRILANX Bible. If we think of life in a game format, there are three main phases in this system of life: the early game, mid-game, and late game. The early game is the learning phase, starting from childhood until adulthood, usually around age 18 for those who choose not to go to college, and until around age 23 or 24 for those who pursue college degrees. As a kid, your time does not flow to work or even study. Your time flows through play, and instead of earning money, you are figuring out who you are and developing yourself. The greatest wealth one can possibly get at a young age. The key ingredients for the right kind of play is that you need to do it with other kids your age, outside and away from screens, in a manner where you construct your own fun. You and the other kids should find things to entertain yourself, make up games, rules, learn how to interact and take control in life. You should not have adults telling you how or what you should be doing during playtime, nor should they even be supervising you. This is a crucial time where you gain a sense of control, independence, and begin the path of finding your passions, interests, and ultimately, your meaning of life. Free play is vastly more important to your early game development than homework, sports, or even school. As kids grow into teens, a mix of studying and social interactions takes a primary role in development here. In this stage, teens are given some initial practice at balancing responsibilities, such as studying or extracurricular activities, while also maintaining a healthy and fun quality of life. Since our society's current system places a high value on standardized knowledge as a measure of success, a student will have to focus on their grades to help them later on. Just to reiterate, the primary overarching goal of the early game, including college, is to figure out who you are, what sort of things make you happy, and how you can use those or elements from them to design your path forward in life. Ideally, success in this stage is figuring out what you want to be professionally, working hard to achieve it, then enjoying what you do from then on out. It makes the mid-game so much easier. The mid-game is our working life. You're an adult now and more attuned to how the world actually works. This is where the work point of the TRILANX takes shape. If you were lucky and found a job that you love and could make it a career, and congratulations, you did good in the early game. If you didn't, don't be too dismayed, you're in the same boat as most people. The big goal of this stage is to balance your work, time, and money so that you can maintain an acceptable quality of life while also setting up the conditions so that you can have a late game, which is retirement. You also have to balance stress, health, personal development, goals, kids, pets, debt. There's a lot of things in life that require balancing. Maybe if you see them in the system format, it will help you control them. Remember, either you wield the system of life or it will wield you. Let's begin by taking a close look at the external portion of the TRILANX, the constraints, coming up in the next video in the sequence.